This is Musical Talk, the UK's independent and longest running musical theatre podcast.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Musical Talk. My name is Nick Hutson. Today we have a very interesting interview with Craig Crowton, who is the head of the Animal Guyz, which is a stage show company that brings animals to life to stadiums, cruise ships and schools all around the world. Had a fascinating chat with Craig, and here it is.
My name is Craig Crowton, and I run a company called the Animal Guyz, and we are on a little crusade to try and talk about animals in a more fun way than what you would normally get if you were talking about animals. Normally, it's a zookeeper telling you the inner workings and anatomically how an animal works. What we've done is created a company with learning through laughter. So we've tried to put animal education with a theatrical twist, I suppose is the easiest way of saying it. I love animals and I love theatre. So I just put the two together because I was never clever enough to be a vet. So I went down those lines.
Lovely, Craig, and thank you for coming on Musical Talk to spread your theatrical message. You mentioned you love animals, obviously, which is wonderful. And when did this idea come to you to blend these two worlds together?
You know what? It all crept in. I'd love to say I had a master plan, and I really didn't. I just wanted to go out there and work, and I worked with animals for a very long time, and it started off with live animals. So I used to get bitten every day by snakes and tarantulas and go into schools and universities, and then the shows just got a bit bigger. The animals got a bit bigger. I ended up having a reindeer lodge up north. So I was breeding reindeer, and it just felt really weird to tell everyone how much I love an animal and then put it in a box and tour around. And I then thought, you know what? I'm going to go animal free, and I'm going to create a show that's all about animals, but I don't have to use a live one. And I had no idea if it was going to work, and I thought it was a bit career suicide, especially when I chose 2020 as the optimum year. This is it. I invested everything I had and thought, what could possibly go wrong in 2020? And everything did. However, on the back of that moment and that time where we was all asked to stay at home, it meant I could do things properly. I could do a logo and a website and a plan and a script, and started working and just dreaming of the day I could get back in a van. And then I had all these rubber animals. And as it happened, when we started again anyway, we could never have used anything live, and we've never used another live animal since 2020. So we are now animal free, which meant I could go bigger. I could all of a sudden, without a live animal, I could use lighting and pyrotechnics and smoke and effects and all the things I couldn't use while I was holding a 12-foot python that didn't necessarily want to be there. Whereas now, I now have a team inside these animals that don't necessarily always want to be there in a heat wave. But it changed the business, and there was a real thirst for it, and our visitors came and they liked it more and more and more. And it's just made us go bigger and bigger. We now have a huge team that travel across cruise ships and theatres and holiday resorts. And we see a lot of people talking about animals. And so we get to, I get to do all the things I never thought I'd get to do. And I get to be on stage and people clap and cheer, and there's nothing better than that. So that's where it came from. And this is where we are now.
And what was the first love for you? Was it theatre or animals?
Oh, animals, absolutely. I came to theatre very, very late. My dad was in the armed forces, so he spent all of his life in the army. So we travelled around with him. So I never seen live entertainment ever. We talk about this a lot. Like, even if it was a party or something on the army camp, just one of the mums dressed as a clown, and we did pin the tail on the donkey. I didn't watch anything that I remember as a kid. There was no pantomime. There was no nothing. We was on an army camp living in Germany or something like that. And then later on in life, I was a welder, and I left home and went to a holiday park to run a bouncy castle for Deborah Meaden from Dragon's Den. She was my boss, her and her family. And I walked onto a holiday park, and I walked into a smoky club room because it was full of smokers back then. And the team were dancing the Superman party dance in front of thousands of people. And at that point, I knew I'd found my people. I was like, this is it. I love entertainment, and I found it very easy. And I've always loved animals. I've always had them. I was the kid, in Germany climbing into holes looking for wild pigs. Gladly, I never found one, but I was always fascinated by animals. So that when I got my confidence on stage, later on in life, I could combine the two. I found I could talk about animals and do it in a funny way, in an exciting way, um, and I just kept pushing. And like I said, I had no plan. My plan was to work, earn a living, be happy, surround myself with good people, and wherever that took me, it took me. And luckily, most of it has worked, and we've done okay.
And animals on stage have always had such they've always been part of theatre, haven't they? Because they are so, whether they're real or fake. I myself come from a theme park background, so I'm used to seeing kind of oversized puppets and things like that. I guess that's part of your style as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is now. But when you think theatre, if you asked anyone to name a theatre show, Lion King would be one of their first ones they put. It's just it's there. Um, I, I suppose the grandness of what they do is what I do now. I do have life-size elephants. I have a life-size giraffe that walks across stage where the performer is on full stilts, front and back. The difference between us and, I suppose, Lion King is their puppetry. Our animals look real. So it literally looks like the animal has been skinned and we got inside it and started moving. So we go for something very realistic in the way that we approach. And we never tell the audience they're not real, ever. In the same way, it's not my job to tell someone, about Father Christmas or anything like that. My job is to present animals on stage, and those that know it's a puppet, that's brilliant, and you're going to appreciate the puppetry. Those that think it's real, isn't that brilliant? Isn't that lovely that a child thinks they're watching a crocodile for the first time make the way across the stage? The difference is they're coming through low fog, incredible music, nice VT, and then all the facts that make you go wow, but don't make you go to sleep. I think if you went to a zoo and watched an orangutan and a speech in £1 million enclosure with all of the stuff and logistics to getting that orangutan right there, I think a child would cartwheel off after about a minute and a half and just go and try and find a swing or do something. Whereas with us, I think if I had that same child and put my orangutan there with my music, I'd get 20 minutes out of it and they wouldn't move. And that's where theatre comes in. And theatre plays such a huge part in how we educate. Nowadays, kids, they don't sit still. You can't just tell them orangutans need help and this. They just won't listen to it. Whereas if you put it into a format where they don't get a chance to get bored, it's just wow. Then you can sneak in the information, and we'll end up with some little wildlife warriors along the way. And we really have some of the people that have watched what we do have gone on to do incredible things. Some children. We had one child who his name's Leland, and he was really shy, and he always came to our shows, and we'd come and introduce us and say hello at the stage door. And then one day his mom said, "I don't think you realize the impact that your show has on him." And we kind of took it for granted. We know what the feedback is. But she went, "No, as a result of watching your show, he just loves animals. He's now created an eco club in school. And the eco club has been so successful. He got invited to 10 Downing Street. And that all because he sat and watched the show about us talking about crocodiles and orangutans and being a bit silly and trying to do it in a different way. So we're more than aware that it's not just theatre. It's actually making a difference. It is doing incredible things out there. And we're only at the beginning. The plan is to get bigger and bigger.
And also with the kids nowadays, we're constantly fighting for their attention against the screens, aren't we? So it's amazing that they can see something they'd usually see on a screen. I know it's cliche to say theatre is, so important for children, but something with such a message as, supporting and encouraging being protected to wildlife is hugely important, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think every animal charity we've ever spoken to, and we deal with a lot of them, it's always about engagement. How? How do you engage the children, and it's really tough. I think the only, I think one thing, like when I went and watched Matilda, stuff like that engaged them because it was children in the audience watching children of just an incredible talent on stage, and you can't, as a child, you would struggle to sit there and not be inspired by it. Um, and then other shows, maybe not so much when it comes to children, what they're seeing. With us, I think they're just seeing it in a different way. And we're not telling the audience anything they don't already know. They already know that conservation is needed. They already know about climate change. They hear about it every day. But I think with ours, we just put it in a format they haven't seen it. They haven't seen us talk about tough topics, but see an orangutan live on stage while a girl is singing a beautiful song, and then the images on the screen at the same time. When you put all of those things together and you sat there, that's why most of the audience cry. We are the worst warm-up act for ourselves. We do these hard-hitting bits, and all the audience are sad and sitting there crying, and then we go, right, let's pick you all up again and let's take you on an adventure with a silly elephant or something like that. So it's very difficult trying to it's different to a normal show. When you're writing a show, it's that beginning, that middle, that end, that take them on an adventure. With me, we tend to make them sit up a bit and then relax and chill, and it is a bit of a ride when you come and watch the show.
Are they musicals?
No, there's music in them. So everything has an underscore. Everything usually mimics the personality of that animal. So if it's a bit silly, so if it's a skunk or a raccoon being a bit naughty, then it's got that blink, blink, blink. But if it's conservation, then we write songs that are hard hitting and are deserving of the message we're trying to give. So music is a huge part of what we do. But is it a full musical? No. Would I do one in the future? Absolutely. I think, there's always a way out there. But for me right now, if I wrote a musical, I don't think I'd be better than The Lion King. So if I can't be better than them, I'm not going to take them on right now. I need to find my own little way of doing things, find our own little pocket, and be the best we can at that. And then from there, we'll expand and change. But yeah, I wouldn't want to turn up to the West End going, look at this animal musical I've got. I'm not sure our advertising would match theirs. I think they'd squash us quite quick.
How have audiences changed since you started doing these shows?
Wow. Massively. I think kids are shyer. I think the pandemic have something to show for that. I think, and I can only base that on meet and greets. So we would do a meet and greet prior to the pandemic, and then one now. Before that, children were very forward. They'd come over, they'd meet the animals. They wouldn't be bothered. Whereas now, we genuinely, luckily, we've got some amazing people in our cast that are very good with making them feel at ease and comfortable, and even down to how we move in the animals, like tone it right down. Otherwise, they freak out. So yeah, I think that's changed. The audience in itself, I think it's getting a bit easier for us because in all of our audiences, we've always got people that know us now, and they know the style, and they know that bit's going to be funny and this bit's going to be tough. When we first started, it was nobody knew what we was. So you walk in and, it's a bit like going in to watch a musical. Someone bought you a ticket and you go, what is this? I had the same with Dear Evan Hansen, by the way. I was sat there, we was in a box, and literally I just turned and went, what is this about, by the way? And they went, suicide. I went, what? And then the music just went boom, and I just sat there, and I was in immediately. I love that. I love the music of it. Yeah, I became a big Sam Tutty fan from there, I think. Yeah, all of it, I was in, and I think for us, that's where we are now. If we ask the audience who's seen us before, it's a 50-50. So the ones that haven't seen us, they kind of get taken with it, with the rest of the audience. They guide them through. So I found it a bit easier now than we did before. And trying to explain what we do. We do an animal show with no live animals, but it's not quite puppets, but it is puppets, and they're not costumes, and they're not mascots, and it's so difficult to tell them what we are.
Are you allowed to kind of tell us more about the um, behind the scenes with the not puppets and kind of who makes them, how the actors trained to work with them? Have you come across any difficulties with them? Any fun stories to share?
Yeah, I think as we get bigger, I think all of it is I want everything to get bigger. So, like now, I thought, well, we'll do a lion. So I saw someone that could really create the lion, and then I needed someone else that could create a body because they didn't. The two skills were different, and then brought them together, and we created a great lion. And then I realized that our hind legs anatomically are not quite the same as a lion. So what I'm asking my performers to do is nigh on impossible, and they do really well with it. The stories we've had are they're all slips and trips and falls as we try and work this out, and that could be as a giraffe or, something on quad stilts where everything was going to plan, and then you look behind and the performer's upside down on the floor, and then you go, right, well, we can't use smoke in that bit then because it makes it a bit slippy. So I think all of it is challenging. I struggle with birds, and I don't mean just in life. I mean, yeah, birds. I've not mimicked it yet. Not found it. I like drones. I'd love. I know drones will come, but at the moment they're just so difficult indoors. Like they're not safe enough to go. Everything's going to be all right, and one's not going to fly towards you. I've tried it with like bee swarms and stuff like that. It didn't quite work, but and I've not seen anything that's made me go that. We use giant ones that are strapped to the shoulders of the performers and they can flap, and it's nice, but I'd like to walk out with what looks like a bird on your arm again, and you can have it flapping and moving. And I think I haven't quite worked that out. Animatronic just feels a bit clumpy. Puppetry looks a bit weird because you've always got the odd arm that's like it's fake, and you're like, so I haven't quite worked that out. I like Cursed Child. They have a little owl that goes from left
They
to right.
did, and I saw Cursed Child only 2 days ago. So
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
cut back, fun enough, on the animatronic owls, which is interesting.
Ah, right,
Um,
okay. Well, yeah. Well, maybe they'll sell me them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the way that owl flies across, and I've never quite worked it out. If I'm honest, I like that, and we are due to go and watch it again before it then turns to the one parter.
Mm.
So yeah, I'll desperately have a look there, but I've never known anyone in the cast to go, how does that work?
Yeah.
So yeah, birds are tough. Ocean is easy because you can dip the lights, change the VT, use inflatable light up, UV, all of that. The ocean is really nice to do. Land animals are okay. The weird thing is everyone expects the normal, so the lions, the hippos, the tigers, and it's trying to move away from that, because there's some animals that need more attention than those in regards to the message. So
There was a musical many, many, many years ago at the Hammersmith Apollo of Dr. Dolittle with, I think it had 120 Jim Henson designed animatronic animals. And
yeah.
it's a show I never saw, but it had a bird that flew over the audience at the end with, I believe it had um, an actor who I won't mention was on it.
Yes, Mr. Schofield.
Yes.
Yeah. It's weird because I went to go and watch that on a couple of occasions, and life just threw some curveballs at me at the time. I was only 18, 19 at the time. Um, I I was desperate to watch it. And then I ended up watching the touring version maybe about 6 years ago. They did another touring version of it, but they used puppetry, and it looked like a book as you open the book, and the character, and you could see the performers. At first I was like, "Oh, they're not the real ones." But then I fell in love with the show, and I was like, "This is gonna be a huge hit." And then they canceled it like 4 days later, and I was like, "Oh, no, it didn't work." I don't know if it was the lineup or yeah, it was a weird one really, but, yeah, I'm like yourself, I never got to watch the original one, and I wish I did because they used real puppets, and,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Jim Henson, and I'm a huge fan of, Labyrinth, which is my greatest, best film ever. So the puppetry side, I think that's why I've always been fascinated by it. The thought of bringing something to life, and who I get to do that depends on their skill set, really. We've had some that have been imported and some we have made here in the UK, America. It depends on what the animal is.
So when you're casting for your show, what are the things you look for? Is it kind of puppetry first, and then you train them with the puppets, I'm guessing?
Do you know what? I think every casting agent's going to hate me for this. I cast on the person first, and then I work. Don't get me wrong; they've got to have an understanding and they've got to be talented. But the work ethic and the person is way too important for me. If you're coming into my company, you're coming into our little family of people, and I know our days get long, and I know I ask you to put your legs into positions they're not supposed to bend at, but that's the best way of doing it to bring the puppet to life and all of those things. So I think you as a person and your work ethic is really important. Once I have that, don't get me wrong, I then need you to sing and I need you to animate and I need you to present whatever that role is going to be. Yeah, most people I know, they just go, I need the most talented person, but I think the most talented person can sometimes be the most toxic. And I've had experience of that. So I go the other way and it's worked for me so far. I've managed to find amazing people and who are talented. And I've been around long enough that they're all generally people I know. Yeah, I've not really took anyone I don't know yet, but we're getting to that bit now when you go, it now needs to be a friend of a friend, or we do a casting where those people have got to come in and I've got to try and work out who you are as a person really quick, because it's not just, oh, wasn't she an amazing singer? I go, yeah, but could she sit in a van for 7 hours and then sing with that same smile on her face like I've just seen in an audition room? Like, once you do the gig, and some of our runs are they're long runs. Like my team, or like this year, they're doing 180 dates. That's with travel in between. It's a run. So yeah, person before talent, but you've got to be really talented.
I won't get you to name all the dates, but you are heading on tour soon, aren't you?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we are. We're pretty much everywhere in the UK. The only place we haven't been yet is Ireland, but we will. It's just a scheduling thing. Yeah, we appear in lots of different venues. We also take our show. We do Butlins, which they built these incredible Studio 36 venues. They hold 2,000 people. We do 2 shows a day there, and we do 200 dates with them a year. So we see a lot of people. We were just awarded their 1 million guests views that have watched us do our show. So that's 1 million people that we've got to talk about animals just in those venues alone. We also sign up to cruise ships. I've just come back from Alaska, where we were sailing there with NCL. So we was on board with the Choir of Man, which that was beautiful. Their big stage came off and the bar. We all had a pint, and then we walked on and talked about a walrus and a polar bear. So that was nice to be on board with them boys. Yeah, so we do a bit of anything really. I'm sure if someone typed us in, the Animal Guyz, they'll find us somewhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, come and check us out and learn about some animals and have a bit of a giggle. At no point does it get preachy. I've never told anyone to recycle. I've never told anyone to, be kind, do anything. I just told people to come and watch the show, enjoy a really nice time in a theatre, and I think the message will do its own thing.
Craig, thank you so much for chatting to us about the Animal Guyz, and I wish you all the best of luck with many shows and runs that you will inevitably have. You are at theanimalguyz.com. That's correct, isn't it?
That's the one, yeah, with a Z. I thought it was cool. I'm not what dyslexic people do when they say.
Worked for Les Mis, didn't it? So
exactly that. So yeah, I can only dream of getting to that standard. So yeah, it's a show that it's more than theatre. It's changing lives. Even even overseas, we're helping fund a pangolin centre in Uganda. That's literally their vehicles, the school education program out there. All of it, all comes from us. Just keep doing what we're doing, selling tickets. So if anyone's out there and you want to come and see something a little bit different, then come and knock on our door and say hello.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're a star.
This episode of Musical Talk, copyright 2026, apart from the songs where the copyright persists with the original creators. For more information on Musical Talk, please visit our website at musicaltalk.co.uk or follow us on X, Instagram and YouTube.